that I spend a lot of my summer in Maine. It's where I would move to if I could move from Virginia and get out of the Beltway, because it's a wonderful place and it needs a new governor. And that's probably going to be Jonathan Bush. And I invited him to join me today. Jonathan, welcome to the Hugh Hewitt Show. It's good to see you again.
Great opening, Hugh.
It is. It
Two
is.
pieces of good news in the opening.
I want you to absolutely change the state so I can go and live there. Why are you running to governor? You've been very successful in business. You don't have to do anything. Why do you want to work on Maine?
I spoke to the rest of Maine, and we all agree we'd like to have you. We'll get rid of some death tax for you, and you'll come right up. Thanks very much for your interest. I'm running for Maine for just as you've set it up beautifully, Hugh. We have an economic growth emergency here. We have, obviously, there's always a crust of well-heeled folks that do well with lots of padding in their lives. But for the average Mainer, it's not a good story. This is a state that is kind of on the top of every list you don't want to be on, and the bottom of every list you want to be at the top of. I mean, thank God for Alaska so that we can be only 49th in infrastructure, 46th in our business climate. I mean, we're really struggling, and our leadership here is kind of headlong into the teachable moment of socialism that even, places like San Francisco and New York are in, where they are, building laws that prevent the police from arresting people and fining landlords who can't find tenants because they've created such a horrible environment. We just need, in Maine, we love our pie, and this is a state that needs to stop deciding how to equitably divide our shrinking pie and start to make more pie. And everyone in Maine
tell people a little bit about.
Yeah.
Tell people about Athena Health, because when I met you this summer, and I've known your cousin forever, I didn't know that you had begun Athena Health, which it's probably not the largest private employer in Maine, but it's going to be close. And I want to get the utilities out of there. Okay, top 5. So tell people what you did with Athena.
So, Athena Health is, of course, the virtual back office that most doctors in the country use that are independent. 20% of all visits to the doctor, whether you know it or not, are happening on AthenaNet. And back in, 2007, Athena was going well, and I needed to be able to scale. And I walked into an abandoned credit card processing center in Belfast, Maine, up in the mid-coast, pretty rural area of Maine, and bought the place, started calling on the people that used to process credit cards, and built up the nation's healthcare back office. There are 1,000 careers in mid-coast Maine that are the back room to 20% of doctors' office visits in the country. And that is that playbook about finding a thing that Maine is comparatively advantaged to do, setting it up, and then evangelizing nationally to build it is what Maine needs in every one of these towns. There's town after town that looks so forlorn today, that was so perky and proud at its economic prime. We just need to orient ourselves towards more economic prime.
What people don't understand, it's a giant state, and I have trouble conveying this to people from Ohio. You can fit Ohio inside of Maine. You can fit all of New England inside of Maine, but it's not developed. And I keep driving with a developer lawyer's eyes past all these hundreds of thousands of square miles of land that could be repurposed into houses and businesses. Why is that not happening up here? It happened in Massachusetts. It's not the weather.
No, we've got more coastline in Maine than in all of California combined. We've got all the West Coast combined. We've got enormous natural resources, 6 million acres of forest land, recircled forest land, an incredibly resilient workforce that's used to changes in seasons and changes in the economy. This is strictly a leadership problem. This is strictly kind of a groupthink Democrat, keep it quaint attitude that has metastasized into the bloodstream here and must be chased out. And what's interesting, Hugh, is you get a lot of folks in southern Maine who used to be Democrats or are Democrats but are unenrolled today, who look over and say, geez, Johnny, I think you're right. They're not as far away from coming our way as people think, because they've had such a stunning experience of decrepitude in the face of enormous potential opportunity.
Yeah. So let's get some practical things down. What is your website if people want to help you become governor of Maine?
www.jonathanbush.org. Better than your New Jersey guy you had on the other day. So we're moving.
I know that was hard. Yeah. www.jonathanbush.org. All right. Your W's cousin. Is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing in Maine? There are some people, I still love the Bushes, and I always have, but some people don't. Is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing in Maine?
Well, everything like that. What did they say in politics? You're never as smart or as dumb as people say you are. You're never as good or as bad. Bush is a headwind sometimes and a tailwind sometimes. When I first talked to George about, hey, I'm thinking about running, this was over a year ago, he said, man, I don't know, I couldn't run for dog catcher in Texas. But in Maine, we polled it, and the Bush family's got a lot of support. 70% of Republican and independent Mainers favorably or strongly favorably view the Bush family. I think the question is, will Mainers, when they meet me, find me to be my own guy or a little robot caught in some sort of lineage machine? I
can definitely tell them you're unlike any other Bush I've ever met. And I met your cousin, your uncle, and a bunch of your other cousins as well, and you're different. Let me ask you about the fact, while you have spent like about half of the state every summer of your life in Maine, you've left a lot of those winters. Are you going to get carpetbagger tag, even though it doesn't work when you spent every summer of your life in a state?
Well, I've actually thought, of course, I've thought about that, thinking about likelihood of success, wanting to make sure I'm going to win. And I thought about a bumper sticker, Bush, carpetbagging since 1969 as an angle. Or, my ass has been everywhere, but my soul's in Maine. I think the reality of the story is I couldn't have done, and this is the story of every Maine family, I couldn't have done my career in Maine until COVID and Zoom. Today, I can. I want to make that story be true for every Mainer. I want people to not have, we call it the Maine dream, not just the American dream, which is you get the American dream, but you can do it in Maine. That's the story of my campaign, is there are guys like me.
Quick exit question, Jonathan. Yeah. What are you going to do the income tax, which is 8.5%? It's ridiculous.
First thing I'm going to do is cut it by $1 billion. First thing we got to do is cut that tax by $1 billion. We need a shot across the bow, an alert that we're taking this seriously. Of course, the next thing will have to be to audit Augusta to fit into that envelope, but there's enormous bloat, enormous opportunities for automation and focus. Every time I look, it blows my mind. So the first thing has to be a $1 billion tax cut, get us back to the other states. Then we'll clean up our act, and then we'll start to grow, and it'll be Katie bar the door, because here comes Maine.
And that's where I'm retiring if you win. Jonathan